Maybe just start off by giving us your name and your chess title.
John Fedorowicz, United States Grandmaster.
Very good. How old were you when you first became interested in chess, and how old were you when you became really serious about chess?
I think the first moment I started liking chess was when Spassky and Fischer played each other in 1972, and it was on TV, Channel 13, with Shelby Lyman, and he always had some grandmasters like Robert Burns, some of, Edmar Mednes, Sherwin, lots of guys would stop by that show. And so I watched that, and I found that the names of the openings were very funny, Nimzo the Indian and some other things. And that's how I got started. And I guess it took me about a year before I played my first tournament. So it probably took about a year before I was serious. But I think I was playing in school the whole time with friends, but we didn't really know what we were doing. It was like if we were playing like checker rules or something. We didn't have a clue.
And this process of playing in school and so on, when you decided you wanted to start getting better, how did you go about doing it?
First I joined Piscataway Chess Club with Glenn Peterson, and then I also joined the Westfield Chess Club, which he said was a stronger club. If I was going to be a maniac and I wanted to get good at this, he suggested that I join that chess club too. So I went to those two clubs, and my first tournament actually was at the Westfield Chess Club. It was a chess club championship. And I told Dennis Barry, put me in the E section, and I told him, I was already overconfident. I said, you got to be kidding, what's the E section? I'm going to win all my games. And he said, you won't win all your games. And I went 11-0, and I laughed at him, and I got first rating 1430.
Very good. Excellent. In this process, obviously you had a lot of talent, but also, did you do some studying? Did you?
Well, back then stuff, but the kids now got it better. They could go on the internet, they could go on the internet and play chess anytime they want, and a lot of players show up from out of the way places in the United States, probably all over the world, and you could get good just playing on the internet, practicing, looking at your games, getting chess base, getting some magazines. And we just had to buy books, practice with our friends, go to clubs, and wait for the chess informant to come out once every 6 months, and just try to figure out stuff on our own. I remember I had all these notebooks filled with stuff, and that's how we did it.
Do you think the practice was more important, or was study more important?
I think actually the practice is. I think I started to get good because when I started to play, for instance, I go to some tournament in Jersey City once. It's some tournaments. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Not to insult Jersey City, but so the tournament's in the middle of nowhere, and I always ask Goichberg who's playing because I figure maybe I'll win the tournament. And he says Grandmaster Leonid Shamkovich is playing. So I go, oh, come on. And and he was the first one of the immigrants. And I estimated that at one point I played Shamkovich maybe 140 times.
Wow.
And I think from playing in all those tournaments, playing Shamkovich, playing Mr. Lane in those Anatoly Lane in those tournaments, that helped me improve a lot. I learned a lot from those guys.
Did you have any strategies to help you get better besides playing in tournaments?
Well, I was just full of hatred. I'm not kidding. I didn't want to murder anybody or anything like that. But when I started playing chess, I remember my Aunt Margaret told me I would never be good at anything, and I was just annoyed. I was like, I figured these people don't think I could get good at this. The game's too hard. What am I, some kind of an idiot? I always got good grades in school. I figured I was like a reasonable kid. So I figured I'd just see what happened. And I ran into Goichberg. He ran tournaments every week back then in New York or someplace in New Jersey, and I'd go to most of them. And then after a while, he started coming up with these lists of like the best juniors. And then he had like, maybe Michael Rode was going to be like a 2650 grandmaster. Joel Benjamin was going to be 2900. And then, I was like, well, I'm not on the list. And he goes, I have you like down maybe you're 2240, something like that. So, when you hear that kind of stuff, you got to get tough and you got to prove something.
Really
so
motivated you.
That helped me out a lot. And so it was motivation, hatred, some other stuff, but it worked, it was fun.
Were there any other challenges that confronted you that you had to overcome?
I just figured making Grandmaster would be a good thing, but because then as the list kept going, then maybe he said, okay, he's not that bad, he's a little better than 2240, maybe he'll just make IM. So then once that thing showed up, it was time to try and make GM. And then, so there was always something there.
What type of effort did you have to make? I mean, you had a burning desire, it sounds like. You really wanted these
Well,
titles.
I think it was just books and playing a lot. I mean, there wasn't, you really couldn't do a lot. I mean, I think a lot of people said that maybe I should have been a lot better than I should have been, and I don't know, maybe that's true, but that could be because Arnold Denker one time said in some article that the United States young United States grandmasters were all a bunch of playboys too lazy to study. I don't know about that, but I thought I did my best. I think one of the problems is Europe has better tournaments. You have to travel a lot,
True.
and maybe you even have to live in Europe, which I did for a while. And I think that's when I had my best results and got the highest rating.
Mm-hmm. But you've won the World Open numerous times.
Oh yeah, that was always good. I mean, from the beginning, and it's always a strong tournament. The World Open and New York Open, all those tournaments. But they're kind of like gambling. They're Swiss tournaments. In Europe, the round robin tournaments, I think, are a better indication because the Open tournaments are like luck sometimes. You go, I got an easy pairing, and you got to murder some poor 2,300 player. And meanwhile, your friend Larry Christensen or Nick is going like, what do I got the guy 25-75? You got the lucky pairing. So that's the kind of stuff that happens in a round robin. It's all even, and it's a truer test of things.
Is there a difference in preparing, say, for a match or for a round robin tournament or for a Swiss system like the World Open?
I think for a round robin is, you just get your list of guys, you go over their games. For a match, I only played in one match, and that was Max DeLugi for an interzonal spot. Mm-hmm. And when you're preparing for a match, you're just preparing for one guy. And when you're preparing for a tournament, you prepare for all of them, but it's not, you're not playing them over and over again. So sometimes you just check over their games. It's more important that you know your stuff, and then you go in confidently. That should be enough.
And what about, we all have to lose games. So how does that impact you? How does, winning and losing chess games?
For instance, last November I played in the Goichberg National Congress. I was rooming with Nick DeFermian. That's the Thanksgiving tournament. And I was there. I was doing all right. I was tied for first, and then I lost a hard game to Igor Schneider. So I didn't come in first. I have my transistor radio. The tournament ends. I go home. I'm Philadelphia. I got to wait until I'm halfway in between New York and Philadelphia. And then I get the New York Giants Seattle Seahawks game. And the Giants missed 3 field goals and lose. So I go in there, and Angela goes, what are you pissed off about? And I said, football, of course. I don't really get mad when I lose chess games anymore because I've lost so many. You get used to it, and you have to because, if you're not mentally tough and you lose. Maybe when I was a kid, I would lose one game and it would snowball a little bit, and I think that's the worst thing that can happen to anybody.
What about books or players that have really influenced you in chess?
Well, in the beginning, of course, as an American, we have to like Fischer. I always liked Karpov a lot. I even today in the camp, I showed some Karpov games, and I said when I was starting off around 73, 74, Karpov was really probably near his peak. And it was just unbelievable the way the guy just beat good players. I was like, it'd be great to be like this guy. And I think just going over all the players' games and stuff like that. A completely ridiculous story is when I was in high school, and they have this career thing. They ask you what you want to be. I said I wanted to be a chess grandmaster, and they sent me to see the school shrink. And I said, look, it sounds like a cool thing. These guys get to travel a lot. They play in tournaments, Paris, all over Europe, nice places. Why not? It doesn't seem like a bad deal if you can get good and win some money doing that. It's got to be okay. So.
Hey, sounds like a good thing to me. Do you have any final comments, any words of wisdom for the younger generation you'd like to share in closing?
Well, I think just play a lot and study. I was talking to Nick DeFermian the other night, and we agree that nowadays the way chess is with all the chess information, that openings have become the most important part of the game. And I think for people to get good, they better study their openings some. I yell, these poor guys here. I heard somebody played the Birds Open, and I just yelled at them, and now they're all afraid of me. So I would say just play a lot, study. Try to figure out what is wrong with you. Everybody has weaknesses. They don't understand. It's hard. It's a hard game. That's why we like it. Just play a lot and have a good time, and don't get too upset when you lose.